Hey everybody, I am Haley Gray and this is Victoria Bentley, and
Hello.
we are going to be talking about taming that stress monster in a world gone mad.
Amen.
I don't know about you, but I feel like people have lost their ever living minds and any pretense of civility in a lot of cases.
I would second that. There's some pretty crazy places out there, and a lot of people I know are gearing up for a fall of not being able to leave their homes
Hmm.
and of danger and of
Yeah.
hitting. And I don't know if any of you live in Portland, but I'm glad I don't. And same goes for Chicago. So, anyway, so stress, we all have it. I mean, I heard someone say today that the 21st century has been a tragic century.
Hmm.
And I think, huh, we're 20 years into this. And that I think that's a pretty good description of this. And you know,
Like, when did it become a badge of honor to be rude to people?
isn't that a good point?
And, when did it become a thing to be constantly busy, overworked, overstressed? Like, and some of us do it to ourselves intentionally, raising hand sheepishly over here.
That I am so important here. Let me show you how busy I am.
Yeah.
Mm.
And people ask how you're doing. Hey, how are you doing? Oh, I'm really busy.
Yeah, I hear that from a lot of people. That's a very good point. But let's take something else. And this is part of stress, but it's part of the crazy that you had talked about before.
Hmm.
Is when did we become such a vulgar society? And I heard a man describe this today is that we have a group of people trying to restore civility, and we have a group of people trying to destroy civility. And each one thinks they're right.
Hmm.
Each one would say the other's doing the other thing. And I heard a song today. Oh my word. I don't know if any of you, oh, and hashtag live if you're out there live. I don't know if any of you have heard Cardi B's song WAP, which I can't even say what WAP stands for, but go Google WAP and look at the lyrics. And she had a one on one with a presidential candidate. And I don't understand I don't understand how anyone who has a hit song that is that hit song or those lyrics or whatever, how anyone would invite them into their home, how anyone would say, "Come on in." And I just, is this all part of the craziness that it's okay to be so
Well, and I think there's like two kinds of vulgar going on. One is that kind of thing, there is the artistic expression of vulgarity kind of thing, and people exploring the artistic, limits, I think, and not condoning it. But I think that that's kind of one form of vulgarity. But the other form,
you mean like Maplethorpe?
a bit,
Yeah.
but then, but then there's the other, there's other dimensions of it where it's become okay on social media somehow to jump in and insult people for their thoughts, or you know
And children bullying children to death on
well,
social media.
adults bullying adults to death.
I don't
It's
get
not
it.
just children doing it, it's adults. And I see some people's posts and they think that they're somehow being thought provoking or provocative or whatever. And to me, I'm like, wow, anybody who gets in my face and yells about whatever their topic is,
Yeah, you
I'm
just
shutting
want.
down pretty fast.
I'm with you. Um, there was a tweet. I got to confess, there was a guy who tweeted something, and it was somebody who was a magazine writer, somebody we all know. I think we all know. And I tweeted back, I can't believe what a total freaking idiot you are. And I said, I can't believe, and I was so upset by it.
Mm-hmm.
I called him at his office.
Mm.
I found him and I called him at his office and I said, my name is, and I just tweeted you something and I apologize. That was just not appropriate. And I realized, do people think that you can hide behind the forum? You know,
Absolutely.
since you're not seeing my face,
Mm-hmm.
that it's okay to say, to make crap up, or, I mean, really.
Well, even if they're not making crap up, you know, I see both ends of the political spectrum. It's not the right or the left. It's everybody who start, you know, basically, oh, you don't agree with me here. Let me just like go on a wild rampage.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
In a way, you know, just name calling,
Hurtful stuff.
incredibly hurtful stuff, name calling, vulgarity, cursing, you know, and they'll just keep coming back and back and back and back and back. And troll, just like online troll behavior. And what's interesting to me is that I don't think any of us would do this to each other in person, but social media has definitely felt in a lot of ways like, oh my gosh, it's a world gone crazy.
Crazy.
And this is a good point, right? And I've seen this on both sides. If you say it long enough, it becomes the truth, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or not.
Yeah, and whoever's got the microphone.
Mm-hmm.
And we have to think about that. Who's got the microphone? So,
if you say it enough times, if you believe it, if you do it loud enough. And I mean, to me, it feels a bit like the world has gone mad. And I mean, I will say that one of the things I've had to do is, you know, put people on snooze, you know, mute them. I don't want to see your posts in my feed because you're so divisive.
mm-hmm.
You're so incredibly like rude to people. And you know, it's been interesting to me because yeah, I have to like not even look at the news sometimes. My husband is a lot of times like, yeah, I don't even look at the news most days because it just drives me up a wall. And I have to wonder how many people have to do that to protect their sanity and
Everybody I'm talking
their
to
bubble.
is saying that. You're right.
Mm-hmm.
Saying, I cannot handle this anymore. It's too much. It's too scary. It's too violent. Mm-hmm. It's too, and I think part of it is people feel very powerless. I think if you felt like, if I go do this, I can make a difference. And I think a lot of people think, I can't make a difference. So now what do I do?
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, you can go vote in the fall.
Yeah.
Or you can be precinct captain. And I mean, all those things are very important.
Mm-hmm.
But we were surprised with a virus out of nowhere that we still don't understand. We still don't have access to the genome. We still don't have it. And
Yeah.
it makes me wonder. And I was saying to my husband how I haven't felt stressed like this since law school. It makes me wonder, like, well, what are they going to lob across the net next? Like,
well, and what I find particularly interesting about this is that you have a group of people who swear that it's a conspiracy and that it doesn't really exist. And then I know other people who are on the other end of the spectrum who are doing research on this. And my younger daughter is doing COVID research.
what's she doing?
She's been compiling data from all the medical trials.
Okay. I don't know anybody who doesn't think this exists.
I have met a few people who think it's a hoax.
I don't.
And
I don't know those people, and with 180,000 dead, it doesn't sound like a hoax to me.
All I know is, the people I know that are working in research in the field, that are compiling that medical data, that are doing the things that they're doing, are the people who are the most hidey-holed up in their homes.
That's a scary thought.
I've got a 19-year-old who refuses to go out and socialize with her friends at college.
Now, that's probably a good idea.
Oh, I get that it's a good idea. Her comment is just, look, I'm very fine to go to school, go to class, do what I need to do, sanitize everything in sight, wear my mask, and then come back. And, the only things I go out for are grocery shopping. And maybe I might go out to dinner with one or two friends, but I'm not going out with, 12 people.
No, nor am I. I have been to a picnic for 4th of July, but we all sat outside more than 6 feet away from one another. We didn't, nobody touched other than, spouses sat together and what have you. But I have a friend who she and her husband have not taken this seriously. And they both ended up on ventilators in the hospital. And they're in their 40s.
And the chances of coming off of a ventilator are, from your experience as a nurse, not real good.
Well, they both did.
Which is amazing.
You don't want to get to that because there are often permanent, like green glass effects and all that stuff.
There are, yeah.
You don't want to get there. And
well, and what I found just particularly interesting about Zena's reaction is that she's had COVID. She's antibody positive, so she's been a plasma donor.
How did she got it?
We're not entirely sure.
Then why isn't she willing to go out if she's already had it?
Because there's other strains of it. And there are people who have gone positive twice. And there are documented cases of people going positive twice. And she doesn't want to be, basically typhoid Mary or catch another strain of it. Because if when she thinks she has it, if when she thinks she had it was really the case, she had it last year for Christmas. Bunch of kids went home to China, came back. She got very, very ill during final exams. She was flu negative. She was strep negative. She was pneumococcal negative. 4 rounds of antibiotics later, she was still coughing 8 weeks later.
Wow.
And we don't know for sure that that's when she had it. She could have been asymptomatic and had it in the spring when she was home. But, all I know is, you've got a kid who's doing research.
Are any of you in the family positive?
We have not had the antibody tests.
Okay.
But if she had it either March or later, or if she had it over Christmas, we've all been exposed.
It's kind of interesting how some people get it and some people don't. Makes you wonder. But
yeah, it's that Russian roulette.
Yeah, and we're back to stress. And
how is stress affecting your body? If what we think really happened, okay, so she caught it during final exams when she was extremely stressed. On the back end of a concussion.
So I thought that as I got older, I would be wiser and be better skilled to deal with stress. But what I've found is that as I get older and my neurotransmitters are probably depleting, I don't handle things as well. I don't handle stress as well. I don't cope as well as I once did.
Well, and I think that's typical.
Exactly. And I'm trying to think like, well, my father had a great quote. And he said, you're not going to reason somebody out of something that you didn't reason into. And so stress is not, or anxiety is not about reason. It's like, what are you afraid of? I don't know. I just am real. And so you can't reason out of it. And so you wonder, like, so
Right.
time and circumstances and eating well and whatever you can do. And I was
Well,
in the
and this year has been inordinately stressful for a lot of people, even people that have retained their jobs. I know that there's been a tremendous amount of stress
sure.
because stress. And, you know, it really does boil down to starting to learn techniques and tricks and stuff to reduce our stress, which, you don't have young kids at home, but you do have family dynamics and you do have family members that, interject, and you're recovering from surgery, and it becomes more and more important that we really focus on that stress management. Whether it's meditation, um, whether it is eating well, exercising, sleeping, but how do you sleep if you're like wound up to the hilt?
Yeah. And how is it that Costco is an essential business, but churches aren't? I don't get that.
Well, and how is it that Costco and Target are essential businesses, but your small local mom and pop shops
Mom
are
and
not?
pop got whopped. Yeah. I saw a lawsuit was filed in New York. Restaurateurs have filed a suit against Cuomo and de Blasio for $2 billion. Because I think 52% of restaurants are closed permanently now in New York.
Wow.
2 billion with the B.
Wow.
And I talked to a friend who was in New York today, and he said it's like a ghost town. He said you'd think this was Saturday or Sunday. It's just there's no traffic, there are no people, and I think that's that's not good. That's not.
Well, a lot of people have left the city because if you're able to work remotely, you're not going to sit in a little dinky 400 square foot apartment.
And pay $5,000 a month and
Right.
all those taxes when you can live tax free somewhere else. So they're going to Florida, they're going to Delaware.
Well, they're going to Colorado
They're
and
going.
Texas. And I mean, one of my friends was recently in Denver for an extended stay, and finding a hotel room was actually a challenge because of A, the forest fires, but B, all the people from New York City that have, abandoned ship and gone elsewhere.
It's amazing, isn't it?
What if you don't have to work from New York City? What if you can work from Bermuda or the Bahamas instead?
Yeah, and I think you look at all the financial types in New York
Mm-hmm.
who had to be there because it's the center of the financial world, but they've all been working remotely and finding out that works.
Mm-hmm.
Holy crap, the cost of office space in those expensive apartments. I think I said, stop me if I did, my friend who's the realtor in New York earns about $750 a year, has 6 listings a year. Right now has 100 listings. That's how many people are getting the heck out of Dodge. And the title company in my law office, I had a law office in 3 cities, 3 towns, 1 city, 2 cities, 2 cities
Whatever.
in a town. And 90% of the business, I'm in Pennsylvania, 90% of the business is Connecticut, New Jersey, and New York. They're all getting, this is stressful. Can you
Mm-hmm.
imagine adding moving on top of this, and your kids aren't going to school, and you don't know if you have a paycheck? And I
I
just,
mean, if your kids were already going to a prep school somewhere or they were going to go to a boarding school,
and you hope you have the income to pay for it.
but if you drop your expenses 10,000 a month, 15,000 a month, then it becomes a lot easier to pay for that boarding school from wherever.
Very good point. But boarding schools from wherever have their kids doing remote work right now.
No, they don't. My
And
kids in boarding school.
my niece and my cousin, their boarding schools have sent them home.
Oh, really?
In the Northeast, the boarding schools are. I, I
I
just
mean, I know of several boarding schools that are in right now.
well,
So I'm surprised.
yeah. You and I talked about one young man in particular who's.
Yeah. Well, my son is in boarding school at a military boarding school. And it's not just that school that's open, but there are several. I think all of the military boarding schools are open. I
That's
haven't looked at the other ones, but I would guess that there would be a few of the boarding schools that are open.
Let us know out there, whatever you know. My 2 family members' kids, they're doing boarding school from home.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I think that Greer is open. I think there's a few. Who knew?
Who knew?
Probably depends on where the school is located.
Yeah, and I'm, and I'm 120 miles outside of New York.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I just, if anybody had told us last year that this is what life would look like. Oh, I got to tell you what I did on Saturday. Made it
What
to,
did you do on Saturday?
I went to the movies, movie theater movies. And you're saying, what are you crazy? Well, we looked at, you know how you buy the tickets online and you pick your seats?
Mm-hmm.
Well, we were the only ones who bought seats. And we looked at, there were 5 movies, but there were 8 screens because of IMAX and stuff like that
Mm-hmm.
for the day. For the day. There were 30 people who came to the movies. There
That
was
doesn't surprise me.
no one else in our movie theater. And we knew that when we were going, we knew that there was no one
Mm-hmm.
else bought tickets. So we had a private screening of Tenet,
Oh,
which was
fun.
the most dumbass movie I've ever seen in my life. And they were speaking with gas masks and oxygen masks on, and you couldn't understand what they were saying. And I found myself stressed and anxious because I couldn't. There was so much background noise of destruction. Have you all noticed that all movies, like all the comic book movies, all of them are about destruction? It's not about an uplifting story of redeeming value and, hey, work hard and it'll be okay. It's all about breaking things and
I've been
killing
watching
people.
the new Star Trek Discovery. I'm a Star Trek junkie from many, many moons back. And it's interesting. There's a lot more death and destruction in this series. And I looked at my husband, I'm like, oh, I see why you really like this series.
Yeah, I I want something uplifting in stressful times. So I'm watching reruns of Frasier and I laugh every night. I mean, I laugh hard every night.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I'm probably better off laughing because I saw this stressful movie and I thought, I don't need to do this again.
Mm-mm.
I'm done with it. And I learned this today that before Disney could put out Mulan, they had to clear the script with the Communist Party of China. Make sure it didn't offend them. So I am boycotting Mulan and everything else about this country that I possibly can. So, like really? We're worried about offending the Communist Party of China? Well, hey, they want the movie to sell there. All those seats, they want all those people to come to the movies. So Walt would
Interesting.
Walt would be rolling over in his grave. But
Wow.
it is what it is. So for
Talk
stress,
about crazy times indeed.
isn't it? Like really Disney? So for stress reduction, I have been swimming. I'm trying to swim every day, wet hair. I
I'm
I
impressed.
try to get in there in at least 45 minutes. And that's that's how I'm getting my strength back from
Do
surgery.
you do laps?
No, I tread water mostly
Okay.
for 45 minutes. And yeah, pretty much. Some laps, but mostly I tread water. And that seems to be more exercise to me. I don't know. And it's easier for me.
Mm-hmm.
It's not comfortable yet to do laps.
Okay. I would imagine the motions would be a little bit more difficult.
Yeah, it kind of hurts. So
Yeah, my husband, I used to be a competitive swimmer, but my husband still is. And he's trying to figure out what he's going to do for swimming um, this fall and winter. Yeah.
let's see what Jeff says.
Just goes to show you how loud money talks. Big movie companies used to do the same thing with Germany during World War II.
Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. In politics,
Amazing.
say it long enough, it becomes the truth. Yeah.
You know,
Jeff, I'm disgusted by that.
it is, you know, when we were living in Brazil, I mean, there was a lot of censorship at the time when we lived there.
What kinds of things were being censored?
Everything. Everything got censored. You know, movies would be imported from the States and they'd have to change they'd have to redact parts of the movie or bleep them out or
But what were they bleeping out? I don't understand.
anything that they thought might be politically sensitive.
Oh, okay. So it was,
Anything and everything.
okay.
Anything that they thought was, culturally insensitive, family insensitive, whatever the censors decided that day were inappropriate got bleeped out.
Hmm.
But it was interesting too, because a lot of times the movies would come into Brazil and they would be in English and they would just do the subtitles in Portuguese. So they would change what it said in Portuguese versus what it was saying in English.
Oh.
So depending on how they did it.
Out.
Do what?
So you knew what was getting bleeped out.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
right.
It
was just an interesting time because it was prior to a lot of, opening up the political parties in that country in the early 80s. Some major political reform happened and a lot of the censorship got better.
Wow.
Lots of other things have happened in the meantime, but.
Well, it's still the best music in the world.
I agree.
And that reduces stress. Good music reduces stress.
Mm-hmm. I actually have a Alexa on my desk, and I'm not going to say it out loud because it'll respond.
Yeah.
And it is not uncommon for me to listen to a lot of Brazilian music.
And I say her name and I say play bossa nova, and it'll go on for hours and hours and hours. It's just the best. So eating well, exercising, good music,
meditation,
and
spiritual practices too are important.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And our governor is still fussing with churches and still, but Costco's open and Target's open.
Our churches are open here, but it depends on the churches, and they're trying to be mindful of social distancing and stuff, and
yeah,
being reasonable about it. Not all churches are open. I mean, the Episcopal Church is still not, but some of the churches are and some aren't. But it's not a government thing at this point. It's an individual decision. And to be fair, most of the churches here do live streams, and they have live streamed Sunday school, although my husband is trying to figure out how in the heck they're going to live stream or do Zoom Sunday school for 3-year-olds.
Yeah.
I don't think that's going to work too well.
Their attention. I didn't think about that.
He's like, I'm not sure I'm comfortable teaching the 3-year-olds. He's done the 3-year-olds for like 17, 18 years now. Because they're his speed. And he's like, this is the first time I really don't feel comfortable teaching. Because, little ones, they want to climb in your lap, they want to hug on you, and they want to snot all over you. And he's like, normally it wouldn't bother me, but like right now,
yeah.
And then the littles just aren't going to wear a mask. Mm-mm. So we're figuring out what it means for Boy Scouts and all of those things. Yes, 3-year-olds have a completely different idea of what Zoom means. Yes.
That's great, Jeff. That's clever.
That is so true. Oh my gosh. And I mean, they're fun, but my husband definitely loves the toddler age. That's his age and stage. I deal better with the teenagers, and he does better with the toddlers.
Me too. I can talk to teenagers. I can reason with teenagers. I little
She loved the kids at the baby stage. Me, not so much.
no, no.
No, we had this like crazy competition, like when our kids were babies, because I would breastfeed or I would be pumping. And there were times where I would finally have to look at him like, dude, slow down. Because he would, if the baby would start crying, he would be the first one to get to the baby, get the baby changed, and then like, pop a bottle of milk in their mouth. And I'm like, now I have to pump. And so it got to be this competition of who can get to the baby fastest. Who can feed the kid fastest? Yes.
So I'm looking at my husband who's petting one of our cats, and I realize how much spending time with our pets is stress relieving. How
Mm-hmm.
really a cat purring on your lap or a little dog playing at your feet, and
Absolutely.
it's just we have a big dog who lives for this game with my husband of throwing this red stick and fetching it and bringing it back, and she has so much joy.
Is this happy?
Yeah, happy just lives for
It's for
chasing,
fetch.
yeah, for chasing the red stick, and she waits for Mark to come home. She knows what time it is, and I'm getting so much joy that I forget some of the stress when I watch them
Mm-hmm.
because they don't know anything's different other than we're home more, and they like that. And
Mm-hmm.
it's just
Yeah. Well, and that's why I have a turtle over here. Well, that's not how I ended up with the turtle over here. Um, but I certainly enjoy being able to sit here and watch the silly turtle antics. And then I'm sure y'all have noticed that I have cat food on the desk behind me, and that I get periodic guests coming in for rounds of snacks and attention. And I post a few pictures, okay, more than a few pictures of the animals online.
I had lunch last week with a single friend of mine, and she said, I would have killed myself if I didn't have my dog.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought about that, and I thought, she's not someone with a history of depression. She's not someone who's wacky. She's not someone who needs help, that kind of thing. She's not one of those people. She just said
No,
the loneliness,
I've heard that from some of my single friends.
yeah, and the stress and the fear. And she said,
Mm-hmm.
just hold my dog in my lap and know that he was there at night. I could get through it. And I thought, boy, I hope people are getting dogs out of shelters and cats out of shelters. And I hope,
I hear that, yeah, the shelters here at least were completely empty at one point.
were they really?
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that neat?
Yeah. I mean, it was the perfect time to get a puppy. If you were in the market for a dog or a puppy that needed to be trained and needed attention, it was perfect.
Yeah.
We had a house full. We still have a house full.
Yeah, you and me, we're animal people. And
I've
I,
got 3 cats, a dog, a rabbit, turtle, fish, and a horse.
yeah, you're busy. Well, I have 3 dogs and 2 cats. And I all this slowing down and we're stressed by it. And
Mm-hmm.
maybe we're getting back to how it used to be in a good way, a slower life, a simpler life,
Mm-hmm.
being grateful for everything we have,
Yep.
grateful for the day, for the food on our plates, for the people we live with, for the, the peaches have been so darn good this year. And I think about that. And I have a friend who has brought peaches to me 4 times, like a big thing, I don't know if it's a half a peck. I don't know. It, it's big. It's a box, this big. And I think about how thoughtful that is, but how wonderful it is to eat a fresh peach. And, I never thought about things like that before. I was I was too busy.
Hmm.
I was just motoring along, just doing
Hmm.
what I had to do. And
Well, and this year has been, yeah, particularly interesting because I think everybody here has heard about my crazy cinnamon roll escapades. I've been making sourdough cinnamon rolls since April, and my 17-year-old now can do it by himself. So he has this whole process. My son, my 17-year-old David, is actually the one who mixes the dough for the cinnamon rolls, and he's kind of got possessive of the process. And now he's also at that point where he also does all the baking. So he started with doing all the baking and getting the final rise out of the dough, and then rotating the pans in and out of the oven and making sure that the cinnamon rolls come out just at his desired level of doneness. And this week he started taking them to kids at school. So I'm guessing that we are now going from, me having a whole horde of people following the cinnamon rolls to him now having a whole horde of people following the cinnamon rolls.
so, have you posted the recipe?
It's truly the King Arthur flour sourdough cinnamon roll recipe.
I've never seen King Arthur flour where I live.
I order it online through Baker's Authority, although you can get it from Costco, you can get it from BJ's, you can get it from wherever. We order 50-pound bags of flour, and I order the aluminum 9x9 tins that are like this big. And, there are the square ones, and I buy 100 of them at a time. And this is our third or fourth pack of them.
And you buy those from Costco as well?
I I buy those from Amazon actually.
Okay.
They're the food service 9x9 baking pans. So yeah, we make a lot of cinnamon rolls. And then I have a couple of friends that get them like every week. Um, so they basically have a 9x13 pan that's assigned to them. So they get it early, like on Saturday or Sunday, and then they bring me the pan back and it gets refilled every week.
That's very cool.
It's been kind of crazy
100 pounds of flour.
at a
And
time.
how often do you order that?
We've ordered twice once we finally started buying it in bulk, but before that we went through about 100 pounds in the individual bags from all of the local grocery stores, and hunting and searching and finding flour everywhere. And this probably won't mean much to you guys, but flour, different kinds of flour, different brands of flour, different types of flour, has slightly different gluten content,
That would make
and
sense.
it reacts different to moisture as well. So if it's not milled to certain specifications, or if it's like all kinds of random brands, it actually leads to different consistency in the bread when you're trying to bake. So we've been trying to identify the flour that we like the most, that yields the most consistent results, that is the most consistent, the tastiest, the softest bread, all of that kind of a thing. So
And
Aida asks, huh?
is that the King Arthur brand?
We're using Sir Galahad by King Arthur. Do I charge, or is it a gift? It's a gift, Aida. If people would like to make a donation, they can make a donation to the food bank. So far, we've raised a couple $1,000s for the food bank of Eastern North Carolina.
That's just tremendous.
Yeah.
That's
And I'm not asking people to donate. It's it's just a thing. I guess I'm becoming a guru on cinnamon rolls. I will tell you, my 17-year-old is really the guru on cinnamon rolls. He is the one who figured out yesterday. Yesterday was Monday, right? Sorry, we baked on
Just ask me.
Sunday and Monday. And we normally do them in double the batch size in the King Arthur flour recipe. And he figured out normally I have to break them up into smaller batches because my arms are not long enough. I have T-Rex arms. He's 6'2" and does not have T-Rex arms. So he was able to take the entire like double batch of rolls and like roll them out along the entire length of our cutting board in the kitchen and do them. And he got 5 pans out of it and just like, and it was just all very perfectly spaced. And I'm like, now you're just showing off because they're all perfectly spaced and totally even and they're all exactly the same size. And I'm like, okay, now you're just showing off, kid. And he's looking at me now. He's got a jar of peanut butter in one hand and a knife in the other, and he's kind of giggling as he does it.
David, come stand behind your mother.
Hey, David, can you come stand behind me? Vicky would like to say hi.
I want to say hi, and I want to see the guy, the king of cinnamon rolls.
Here is the king of cinnamon rolls.
David, you keep it going, buddy. You got your own crew at school. You and or the GIF or whatever it is.
See,
it's a great part
first, and then I can be like, "Yeah, I'm running out. Do this."
And he's like, "Now I have to get hooked on him, and then I can start charging people, and then I can start
$2 at the start, and then bump it up to 5, and then be like, yeah, this is too much work. I want to pay 7.
You might as well just go for 10 a batch."
Oh, you are funny.
But you work it up over time, so they get.
Do you hear this? Like, you work it up over time so that you can.
Yeah.
Yeah, he has a whole scheme. I think he's planning to like pay for college with cinnamon rolls.
Good for you, buddy. Good for you. Entrepreneurial spirit. Yes, sir.
Yeah, and Jeff says if it were just a way to make an Eagle project out of cinnamon rolls, right?
Rolls. There you go. There you go. That's so funny. I want to know, apropos of nothing, I want to know what happened to Southern accents. These children, it's gone. In this generation, it's gone.
Well, he says internet. So some children here do speak with Southern accents in this area.
My family all does there.
Yeah, your whole family does, right? So I don't speak with a Southern accent because I wasn't raised here.
Yeah, I get that, but
and then my kids had, well, my husband's parents were not from the South. So they were from Miami and then they went to New Haven when my father-in-law went to Yale. So they never developed Southern accents. My parents had Southern accents, but I wasn't raised in the US. So I didn't learn English as a first language. And then my kids had au pairs growing up. So neither my husband nor I speak English with a Southern accent. And then the au pairs certainly didn't speak with a Southern accent. So none of my kids do.
Most kids don't anymore in North Carolina.
I think it depends on the family.
Yeah, probably.
I would say it's probably hit or miss. In this area, in Raleigh, Cary, it's a hit or miss kind of thing.
Well, there are a lot of transplants where you are. And same with
we jokingly call Cary the containment area for relocated Yankees. Because it's mostly people from the north that live here in this area.
And Charlotte is filled with Californians from the banking industry. So, well, it is what it is. I'm glad we had this time together.
Yeah, me too. This has been a lot of fun. And thank you guys for chatting with us.
Thanks.
This has been fun. Thank you for joining.
Yeah, hashtag truth. Jeff Zimmerman, thank you so much. And
I do die laughing because Zena went to Xavier, which is Jeff's alma mater.
Cincinnati. Yay.
Cincinnati, right? And people are really confused by her lack of accent until she decides to have one.
Good night, Jeff. Good night,
everybody. Thank you. Thank you for hanging with us.
Yeah. Good to see y'all.
Good to see you. Bye.
Bye.